Cross comes in. White with the header. 1-0 England.
And here comes Whitehead. It's gold for Great Britain.
Yes, we are back on Track and Ball Podcast with myself, Richard Whitehead.
And I'm Ellen White.
And what a week we've had so far, with news of grassroots coming back, fans being reintroduced to stadiums, and our very own Ellen White scoring a hat-trick for England. Who are you playing, Els?
We played Northern Ireland. I appreciate you mentioning that. Thank you.
Awesome, well done. On our podcast,
I didn't pay you.
yeah, on our podcast today, we have multi-talented Olympian that has proven not only to be a superstar on the track, but also on the pitch. He's an advocate for change in sport. He's tussled with the likes of Usain Bolt and Justin Gatlin. But if you talk to people about this guy, they always talk about his infectious smile. Today we have Mr. Smiley himself, all the way from Florida. It's Adam Gemili. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thank you very much for that introduction. That was lovely. Yeah, doing well, thank you. How you guys doing?
Yeah,
good, thank you. Yeah,
the weather good there?
Oh, ridiculous, mate. Yeah, it was. What is it? It's 26 at the moment, and it's just hit midday. So it's it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
Jealous.
Not jealous at all. No.
I know, but the thing is with Florida, the weather changes so often. 1 minute it's really 30 degrees, next minute it's like 11 degrees. So it's like, it's pretty frustrating. But yes, I'd rather be here than back at home with the cold. So
I don't blame you. Now, thank you so much for joining us, Adam. Really appreciate it. And we've met briefly on that culture call for Team GB. So that was cool. And it's also nice to hear from another athlete, because it's quite boring speaking to Rich all the time. So I appreciate you coming on. And also you are the perfect guest, because track star, but then also footballer, Track and Ball Podcast. It makes sense. It fits so well. So me and Rich, we love enjoying hearing about how athletes get involved in sport, like growing up. So how did you, or what was your kind of sport? Was it just athletics and football, or was it a number of different sports when you were growing up?
Everything. So for me, I've always been sporty, always been energetic and fast. And I think that just helps with every sport, having that speed. It just helps just having that natural athleticism. So in school, my parents let me do everything, from swimming, even like netball, volleyball, rounders, cricket, cycling. Like I did not have a free day of the week. Every day after school, I was always doing some sort of activity. And then, found my love in football, joined a football team when I was like 7 years old. I never play. Honestly, I used to not even, someone used to roll me the boys to pick it up and run away with it. And then, learn to actually understand and how to play it, and then absolutely fell in love with the game. 2 years at a local team, and then was very, very fortunate to get picked up by Chelsea's academy. And I spent 8 great years at Chelsea, which was something not many people ever will get to experience, because they taught me so much, not just in sport, but as a person, how to be professional from such a young age, and always setting an example for the age group below you. Always done sport, and being in the sport at that high level at that young age, it sort of taught me a lot, which I've now brought into my track and field. But sport for me has been my life. I don't know what I'd do without it, really. It's given me everything: confidence, personality. It's just developed me into such a
personality.
Everything, really. Honestly, I was so introverted. I was so quiet, and then sport gives you the confidence to really come out of your shell and be around like-minded people. And for me, I found that. So.
How were you able to like combine training as a footballer and then doing athletics at the same time? Was it quite challenging, or was you loving it?
It was. I was at the time. I was loving it. I was 17, 18 years old. I was playing football. So I was at Dagenham and Redbridge at the time, and I remember just saying to them, I made the team for the European Juniors. So I dabbled in athletics, and I made the European Junior athletics team. And I said to Dagenham, "Can I take a week off to go to Tallinn in Estonia?" And they were like, "Yeah, great, cool, go win us a medal." Won 2 silvers there. Literally, I landed and was back in training the next day. And then, for the first leading up into the 2012 season, which was when I really made the switch full time. I was just training during the day for track and field, for football, and then in the evenings, going to Lee Valley Athletic Centre and training for track and field. And I was just loving it. I was like, so much exercise. I was just like, sport. I was absolutely, I was absolutely loving it. I come to track and field, and my knees would be like, oh, I've got a bit of a dead leg today, and my coach was like,
"There's some grass stains on your knees." Right?
Yeah, honestly, like it was that sort of level. And then eventually, as I got a bit more serious, decided to make the switch, focus solely on track and field, sort of beginning of 2012 in January. And
I want to talk about that. Yeah, you obviously made that switch in 2012, and was that an easy decision? Obviously, being introduced to football, and then obviously track and field being there and the opportunity, and who was also part of that decision?
Yeah, honestly, it was quite a heartbreaking decision. It was such a difficult decision. I'd trained and worked my whole life for a pro contract in football, and I finally got that, but the contract wasn't a superstar contract. It was a good contract for my age. It was okay money, and it was Dagenham. We were League One at the time, so it was good. It was good, but I dabbled in athletics, and I'd had relative success as a junior. And my parents were very keen on education. So for them, they were like, try athletics. If you don't like it, then go back to football. But if you do athletics, you might also be able to get to go to university, which you can't do as a footballer. Well, years ago, you couldn't do. Nowadays, you can. But yeah, years ago, you couldn't do. So I was like, do you know what? Fine. I'll give athletics a shot. I'll give it my all for the rest of the year, for the rest of 2012, and we'll see what happens. And for me, I just picked it up so quickly, training every day, being in and around professional athletes. Like the group that I went into was so professional, and they really put me in my place, and they really taught me a lot of things about how you have to be. We trained with Jeanette Quatchy, who is retired now, but she was at the time the only Olympic finalist in the female sprints. She taught me so much, and being in and around and amongst that group, literally, it developed me into sort of a good sprinter, and I was really fortunate to make the Olympic team that year. So
some great messages there, mate. Some great messages. What I took from what you just said there about not chasing the money. It's not all about self gratification, but it's about what you're passionate about and follow that passion. We have a lot of kids that listen to and watch these podcasts, and that's a great message to pass on. Guys, look, follow your passion, and all the rewards will come.
100%, 100%.
Now, me and Rich were looking online last night. The Chelsea first team squad that would have been playing when you were there. Can you remember some of them players in the first team? And
yeah, for sure. I can remember I don't think any of my actual age group have gone on to play for the first team at Chelsea. It was always the one that was the year above me. So I always used to play a year up. So I used to spend a lot of time with him. But I really thought he'd go and make it and break into that first team. Was a guy called Josh McCracken, and he played at Chelsea, and he was honestly, he was a different class. He was just a class above everyone, and it didn't quite happen for him. And most recently, a good friend of mine, someone that is from my area, so we used to travel into Chelsea. He's a few years younger than me, but Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he's probably the one that's done the most successful. But yeah, I see some of the first team now, and I'm like, wow, these guys are. Nathaniel Chalobah was a year below me as well, but it's so tough in a club like Chelsea. There's just so much money, and now football is so instantaneous. They want players that are ready.
Can you name any of the first team players that were actually in that season when you were at Chelsea?
Yeah, for sure. It was I was there for 8 years, so it was the John Terrys, the Lampards, the Drogbas, the Essians, the Makaleles, even the Hasselbank and the Zola. Like they were. There's a different generation, man. And I was at Chelsea before the money. Oh, Drogba. What a beast!
My goodness.
And do you know something about those guys? Is they always gave time to the academy as well, which is
that's nice,
not a lot of people know that, and they don't make it public. But they'd always spend, so they'd do their training, and they'd always come and watch the academy. And when Jose Mourinho was there, he was a big advocate for that. He used to come around and make sure we're all feeling part of the club. And it doesn't matter if you're 9, 10, 11, 12, you feel like you're in this football club, and it's just
as a Spurs fan, it killed me. Michael Essien, Drogba, I was going.
The team was nasty, man. The team and then they got Obi Mikel, and then they had Carvalho and Terry. Oh mate, the team was Ashley
naughty.
Cole on the left. Oh, Robin was there. I could talk all day about football. They were a fantastic team to sort of see, and I think they won everything. So
Going back to your track career now, mate. Junior championships. How much did you learn from that stepping stone? And in terms of the transition to senior competition, because you really did it quite soon after that junior competition, what kind of experience did you take from that championships moving forwards? And was that a benefit for you? Did that give you kind of the zest for potentially going to the Olympics in 2012?
Yeah, it gave me everything. Making that World Junior team, and I was the favourite going into it, and I'd never been the favourite for anything. I was pretty excited. I was like, but pretty nervous as well. But it was happening so quickly. Like, everything was coming at me so quickly that year. I was 18 years old. I didn't really understand the scale of it. And it was just easy. It was just, like I said, it was just happening. There was no injuries. There was no hardship. It was just success. So I'd never had that sort of any reason to think it wasn't going to be like that my whole career. And then as you sort of make that transition, and for me, it happened very quickly. I went to the World Junior Championships in 2012, and like 2 weeks later, I was lining up in the Olympic Stadium in 2012. I was like, what am I doing here? I feel so out of place. 6 months ago, I was kicking football on the field in Dagenham. So it's like, you learn a lot. You have to learn a lot. And whereas you might go from being so successful, winning every single race you do as a junior, to maybe winning 5-10% of races as a senior, because there's no, at that level, there's no, he's a young athlete. Like, everyone's racing everyone. They're all men on the line. It doesn't matter. They don't care if you're 17 or you're 27. Everyone's running, and everyone's trying to win, and provide a for their families and stuff. So it's it takes a lot to sort of to learn and how to do that transition. But for me, it happened so quickly, and because I saw such success, I didn't quite realize the scale of what was happening. I was just like, it's easy. It's just, I'm running and I'm running fast. And then when you start to get injured and you don't run fast, that's when you then realize, bloody hell, like, what I did as a junior was pretty mental. And making that transition, like, impressive, yeah. you know how much we train every day for no guarantees, really. There's no guarantees you're going to make a team. There's no guarantees you're going to run fast, but you sacrifice so much. And people put their whole livelihoods into sport that, it's mind blowing for me.
We've had on the podcast the likes of kind of Greg Rutherford, Becky Adlington, Tom Daly, and they've each spoken about kind of London 2012 and their experiences. Like, for you, Adam, like, what was that like? And especially, like you said, like, in the lead up to it, qualifying very soon to the Olympics as well.
Yeah, it was crazy. So the qualifying, so firstly, making the team, I remember making it and then just going back to my hotel room in Birmingham, and I was just like, because the trials were in Alexander Stadium, and I was just like, I was just sitting around. I was like, what's just happened? Like, I'm going to the Olympic, because I'd always planned, we got tickets, so I'd always planned to go and watch it.
That's
to
crazy.
go and watch it. And then literally I was like, oh my God, I'm actually going to be there. And then, like I said, it didn't quite hit me the scale of it until afterwards, but going to the Olympics was the best championships in London was the best championships I've ever been to. Just being in London, representing your country, and having the whole crowd, like walking into the stadium, and from the minute you walk in and people see you, they're screaming your name. And that's something I'd never had before. I'd never had people even know me. People coming up to me asking me for pictures and autographs. I was like, what? Like, I was like, what's going on? I was trying to see everyone and meet everyone. And I remember my roommate, so Greg Rutherford, who you mentioned, he was actually in my apartment. He was one of my apartment mates. So we were 6 of us in the apartment. It was Greg Rutherford, a pole vaulter called Steve Lewis, Dwayne Chambers, Christian Malcolm, and then myself and Danny Talbot. So myself and Danny were the young athletes on the team. So being with those 4 really, they helped us a lot. They helped us a lot to sort of being in amongst the Olympic, like, just to not lose your head, because it's so overwhelming. Like, you guys will know, being at like championships like that, it can be very, very overwhelming. Especially you go into like the food hall, and there's just food everywhere, and it's all free, and you can pick anything you want, and there's no, like, it's not all healthy. There's unhealthy food there. There's a McDonald's there, like, and they just help keep an eye on us and make sure, listen, you're here to compete, like, enjoy the spectacle, but at the end of the day, you're here to run. And that really helped myself and Danny a lot. And sharing with those guys, and then obviously seeing what Greg did. And I remember he walked back into the room and he had his gold medal, and we were like,
mate, what an
Olympic gold medal. Like, yeah, I've got pictures of the medal. Like, I was like, mate, can I borrow your medal? Take a few pictures of it. And like, he just gave it to me. I was in the bathroom taking selfies, sending it to my family and my friends. Like, got a medal. So yeah, it was just a different world. It was a nice time, and I think it was a very happy time. If I could go back and live a section of my track career again, it'd be that career for that moment for sure.
Yeah, and that kind of answers the next question really. But we look at like role models and influences on like in the track and field. Who would you say your influences and role models in the kind of British team, past and present, and then the international team, past and present?
So definitely on the British team, people I always looked up to and spoke to, and especially when I was a young developing athlete, was obviously Dwayne Chambers, Christian Malcolm, Darren Campbell. These guys were always open for advice, always so eager to let you to share their knowledge. They weren't like quiet. Oh, there's a young guy coming up. No, not going to help him out. They were so helpful and taught me a lot for sure. Jeanette Quatchy as well, someone who came in and really humbled me a lot. Sometimes if I ran a bit fast, she doesn't matter. She kept my feet firmly on the ground. She was like, "What, you think you're a superstar now?" She was like, "No, get back over there and start running." And we'd be throwing up. Exactly. That's it. We'll be running together. Internationally, someone obviously you can't say Usain Bolt was such an inspiration, and not just for what he did on the track and off the track, like carrying the sport. Advice that he's given me. I remember one championships in Moscow. He walked me through the mix zone and told the journalist, like, you need to leave him. You need to let him develop at his own age. Don't start putting all this pressure on him. Like, I just run sub 20, so I was like really happy. And he was like, listen, develop at your own time. Take your time. You'll have a great career. And he was just always open for advice. The first thing he said to me was, "Oh, you used to play football. I want to be a footballer. What are you doing here? You had the opportunity and you chose track. Are you crazy?" So, obviously internationally, Usain Bolt, you see in track.
So you've developed a real good toolkit there, haven't you? From obviously those influences, and I think that's really important for those younger athletes again that are listening and watching, that they want to develop their own toolkit and learn from other people's experiences, but think about their own kind of core values and develop their own toolkit. I also have this sieve that I put all people's like best skill sets and then shake that sieve, and then the things that stick in that sieve are the things that I take out and try and use myself. And I know from listening to you how you talk eloquently about other athletes. I think it's really important to you to respect the past as well as look to the future, right? For sure. A piece of advice, I remember being 18 and we came on a training camp in Florida, and I hadn't run fast at all. I wasn't established in track and field at all. And Tyson Gay, who's one of the all-time greats in our sport, one of the second fastest man of all time, he sat down with me, and my coach at the time was a guy called Michael Afalaka, and he introduced me to Tyson, and we got on really well. And Tyson he's the second fastest guy of all time, and he was spending time with me, telling me about how to have longevity. He was like, "Listen, it's all about training smart. It's not the person that trains the hardest isn't always the most successful. It's training smart for your body, learning what works for you, what works for other people might not work for you." And he didn't need to do that. So that's why track and field. I love track and field because it's just got nice people in it that just want people to be happy and successful. Like football is great as well, but football is the thing I found. Football is very opinion based, and you could be Cristiano Ronaldo in one person's eyes, and in another person's eyes you're not. But in track and field, if you run a time, that's your time. That's how fast you run, and no one can take that away from you. Not saying anything bad about football. I love football. Like it was my thing, but it's just different. It was a different group of people that I didn't have to be like in the changing room, put on a vibe, and which a lot of young footballers do. They play up to it and try and be like a lad, and that's not me. But in that environment, sometimes you have to do that.
You spoke about getting sub 20, and then you've also you broke the 10-second barrier as well. Like, what's your kind of favorite event? Like, what time are you most proud of?
I love both events. I love both sprint events. My favorite, I enjoy the 200 a lot more, just because it gives me a lot more time to actually get into my running. In the 100 meters, if you make a mistake in the 100 meters, it's over so quickly at that level. People are massive, and they're there, they're hungry, ready to rip your head off. And like I said, if you make a mistake, it's game over. It's so hard against the world-class field to really run people down. In the 200, it's a lot more tactical. It's a lot more, right, I'm going to go off hard here, then coast and go again. Or he's going to go off to 150 and die. And so it's so much more tactical. And I love that. I love that tactics and that sort of mind games. And so for me, I really love the 200. I love both, but my favorite is probably the 200 for sure.
And that moves on to my next, like how hard is it to actually break the 10-second, 20-second barrier?
Yeah, it's not easy. I think in history, I think when I went sub 10 and sub 20, I think I was like the 30th person in history, which is, if you think of how many people have been in the whole world. And it's very, very select few people can do that, because you've got to have the talent, you've got to have the natural genetics to do it, and then you've got to also it's all good having that, but you have to also train and put yourself physically in the right sort of physical shape to do that. Be mentally ready, and then execute, and usually execute in front of a crowd of people with people next to you, either side of you, ready to like rip your head off. So it's very, very difficult. It's not something that's easy to do, but I feel very proud to have done sort of both.
And obviously, being a high-performing athlete, what would you say are factors that were able for you to achieve those times? Me and Rich talk a lot about the support team that we've got around us, the training environment, obviously the amount of recovery, the lifestyle you lead. What are your type of factors? Yeah,
there's a lot. I think for you guys said it like so correctly. When people see athletes compete, they see the easy part. They see me running for 10 or 20 seconds and it's so easy what you do. They don't see how much hard work goes into it from not just myself, from so many other people, my coach, my therapist, psychologist, if you use it, nutritionist, osteo. Like there's such a handful of people who invest so much time into you. Like we train 10, 11 months of the year, and we get one. So for a season that lasts 3 or 4 months. So we put so much hard work into that 10 or 20 seconds. There's so much factors that go into it. It's not just about how hard you train as well. It's how you live, it took me a while to understand that, but it's all good being able to do and smash a really hard session and you're really happy with yourself. What the hard thing is can I go home, recover? So can I sleep enough, eat enough to come back and do it the next day?
Go again, right?
And the next day. Yeah. That's when it gets difficult, and that's what people don't realize. It's you can run one great time or you can run one great session, but the recovery and what you do off the track is probably more important than the work you do on the track. So for me, that's a factor that I found really needed work. My supplements, my nutrition, and my sleep. And that's what I've really sort of focused on, and I've seen great results because of it.
Yeah, mate, you look in great shape as well. You look like
thanks, mate.
You're trimmed up and you're ready to fire.
Yeah, got to, man. You see these guys that I run against, you see them on the line, they're all massive, ripped, 10-pack.
It's not about them. It's not about them, man. It's about you. Do you know one thing that I did want to ask about is, if it all goes wrong, say you do get injured or things just don't align, mentally, how do you cope with that? And can you kind of think about a scenario that's happened to yourself when you've been injured and you've kind of had to reflect on maybe some of the choices you've made?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think every athlete has been through injury or will go through injury. If you find me an athlete in any sport that doesn't go through injury, then you found one in a billion, because that just doesn't happen. Some advice I got from a hurdler, American hurdler called David Oliver. So he was like, I remember at the time I was really injured, and I was at a track meet with him, and I was like really soppy and really down, and he just said to me, take some time to understand what's happened to you, but it's not a pity party. No one's going to feel sorry for you. That's what he said to me. He's just brutally said, it's not a pity party. You need to now work and do the boring stuff to get yourself back up to where you need to be and at a better level than you're already at, so you don't get injured. But mentally, it's tough. Mentally, I find you do need to take a day or a couple of days to understand what's happened to you, accept it. Once you've accepted it, it's out of your mind. What am I going to do every single day now to get myself healthy and ready to run?
Because mentally it's tough though, isn't it? Mentally it's tough. Sometimes I had a fall earlier this year, and one of my blades snapped, and I had concussion. So I had 3 weeks when I couldn't train at all, and I hit the ground at about 24 miles an hour. So I was running probably, for those that are watching, listening, so every 100 metres, 9.9 seconds. So that's my last 100 metres. So I was flat out, and then snap, go down, hit the floor. And literally in that moment, I was like, this might be my last time I set foot on the track. Do you know, one of those moments?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you must have had those moments. I know from your career, you must have had those moments where you think, this Achilles, this hamstring, that might finish me forever on the track. And how do you then cope with that?
You have to stay positive. I've been at Loughborough and I've seen you sprinting, pegging it full sprint outside, and I've seen your blade snap before, and I've always thought, oh my god, like it's speed. The speed you get to as well, it's absolutely crazy. But I've definitely had a moment like that. My big moment for me was in 2015, and first time I ran sub 10 seconds. I dipped like an idiot. I was thinking it was an Olympic final. It wasn't. It was a dive. I don't know what I was thinking. I fell over, and my hamstring. It's like I've been shot. It was the worst pain I've ever had. My hamstring just went like that, tore it. Grade 4. I can't remember what it was. It was awful.
Disconnection.
It was awful, and I thought, right, that's it. I remember getting the scan, and the guy was telling me how bad it was, and I was like, that might be it. That might be it. And I was sitting with my parents, and they were like, no, don't be silly. And I was just there like, I think that's it. I think this is going to be a really hard injury to come back from. And it was. It took me years and years to get fully fit again. But I never lost that faith. I always had that faith. Once I put that out of my mind, you can't think like that's going to be it. Your career is going to be done. I was only young as well. I was 22 at the time. So I thought, you know what? You've got enough time to get back into it. But if I had an injury,
I love that as well. Now, I love that, having the faith. I love that.
You have to have faith. If you're negative, your cortisol builds up, and you're only going to get into a worse state. You've got to be positive and try and fill your body with positive energy. Manifest being healthy, and it happens.
And that leads nicely onto my next question, because obviously we're living in a very weird time at the moment, and obviously people need to stay positive. So that's a really, really good message. And obviously, I'm feeling pretty positive about the Olympics happening. What's kind of your thoughts? How are you feeling ahead of Tokyo?
Yeah, do you know what? It's good you said that. I had a few months of quite a down. I've never actually spoken about it. I put a little thing on Instagram a few weeks ago, but I've never actually spoken about this. I have always come across as being a really positive, bubbly person, and sometimes that's really hard to sort of maintain. And everyone always looks to you like you're a superhero, especially as an athlete. You guys know everyone always looks to you like you're resilient and nothing's going to bother you, and you just get on with it. But the last few months, especially when the Olympics got cancelled, I really went into a big dip mentally. Like I was getting anxious. I wasn't sleeping well. I was waking up in like hot sweats, not knowing what was going on, because I just had no purpose. And there was a lot of external factors going on, like a lot of sponsorship stuff as well, because the Olympics didn't happen. So I was just in a really bad place. And I found talking about it with my friends and the family, which I didn't want to do, because I feel like, oh, you should be strong enough to get on with it with yourself. But me sharing the burden with those guys really, really helped. And they gave me a lot of perspective about what I'm doing as a job. And it's just running in a circle as a job. Why am I getting so stressed up? Why am I getting so stressed about it? Like, there's life after sport. And then obviously seeing what's happening now with the Olympics, I sit on a few BOA calls, and we've got regular communication with our governing body. I train with one of Japan's fastest athletes, so he's in regular contact with his own governing body. So as far as I know, it's definitely happening. Unless there's a new COVID-19 that comes out and it destroys the whole world, like the Japanese are planning for it to definitely happen. So for me, that put me in a positive mindset. I've got targets, I've got goals to aim for. I really work well when I'm aiming towards a goal, long term and short term. So it was nice to have a long term goal to aim for, and put me in a positive mindset, and I was able to knuckle down and get into a nice positive mindset, and go out and train every day.
No, really appreciate you opening up as well, because there'll be a lot of people kind of listening and watching this and feeling the same about a number of different issues, but being able to kind of open up, either speak to friends, family, or somebody else about how they're feeling. Like you say, like kind of not put the burden on them, but being able to have that communication. Exactly, yeah. I think that's really important. So thank you for saying that.
My pleasure. It was a tough time, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Always, no matter how long the tunnel may seem, there's always light.
Yeah.
And on a positive note, you're in Florida now. You're in Florida. Sun's out. Adam Gemili's guns out.
That's you. You're the gun man. I just want to have a little bit of guns.
That's it. You've been working, mate. I follow you on Instagram, and I definitely know you've been doing some curls. I'm not sure it's a benefit of you running, but I know you've definitely been for the finishing line pose when you win that medal, obviously in Tokyo. But obviously you're in Florida. I went to South Africa for a month, like you know. I go out there to train. Can you talk to us about the benefits and the reason why you've gone out to Florida? A lot of athletes go and train in different environments, and obviously yours is specific to what you want to do. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Florida. First and foremost is because of my training group. So my coach is based out in Florida, and my training group. And I put myself in the environment. I realized quite quickly that if I want to be the best, I have to train with the best, and I have to train with them every day. Beat them every day. So when it comes to the Olympic final, I'm confident. I'm like, right, I back myself, and that's why I've always got confidence, because if you put yourself out there with the best, it gives you that confidence. So I train with some of the best sprinters in the world. Like I think there's probably 8 or 9 of us that if we line up, everyone has a PB under 10 seconds, some 9.8. Everyone's the top of their game for their country. We've got 7 different countries, athletes that we train with: Canada, America, Jamaica, France, like Nigeria. We've got such a array of people. That's partly why I've done it. Obviously, my coach is out here and he's phenomenal. I trust him, and I know he'll get me in the best shape. And then the benefits are the weather. That's what people don't understand, and they see these Jamaicans and stuff, and these Americans that have been doing it for years, and we are such a disadvantage in the UK, because as soon as you're trying to exercise, you're contracting your muscles. So you're working. If it's already cold, you've already got that contraction. So it's like, that's where you start becoming more prone to injury. So being in the sun allows you to get some vitamin D on your back, allows your muscles to relax. And if you want to run fast, contrary to what you might think, a long, relaxed muscle is a fast muscle. So the more relaxed you are, the faster you will run. So being in the sun has huge, huge benefits in terms of for the body as well.
And what are like your personal goals going into the games?
Win. Honestly, win. I'm at an age now where, and I've always
love that.
I love that. And you've always had that mentality as well. You've always
that's it. You need to go for it. What's the point of accepting second, third, or fourth, man? You need to go for the win, right?
We train so hard every day. We push our bodies to the edge. I throw up after every set. I push my body so hard that it makes me vomit. Like, I give up so much time. I move away from my family, my friends, my girlfriend, like to be successful. To fill a lane, to make a semi-final, to put that picture on Instagram and say, oh, I made a semi-final, and get people saying, oh, that's okay. No way. To make someone else look better. I think when you put, especially in Great Britain, once you put that British vest on, you are not there to fill lanes and make anyone else look good. You're there to challenge the best in the world. And if you're aiming to be the best, then if you fail, then so be it. If you're aiming to be third place or make a final, you're just limiting what you can do. So as ludicrous as it sounds, you always have to go into every race thinking you're going to win, and especially even if that's the Olympics. So that's the attitude I've had, Rich has had, and yourself has had, being at the top of your games as well. So it's like, yeah, I don't know why you would have any other attitude.
Yeah.
And what would you like? How would you like to be remembered as a person and as an athlete?
So I would like to be remembered as a person. Firstly, I don't want people to go when they say, "Oh, what was Adam like?" Oh, yeah, he was a good athlete. Like, I don't want that to be the first thing people say. I want to say, "What was Adam like?" Yeah, he was a kind guy. He was funny. He cared about people. He was a nice person. And yeah, also his track and field was great. He ran really fast and won lots of medals. But for me, yeah, it's definitely about being a role model, inspiring the future, inspiring a new generation, especially in these times we live in. That it's so difficult for young athletes to feel that motivation to get out and keep training when it's so easy to sit in front of a TV and play games, PlayStation, Xbox, PC all day. So for me, I think us athletes, we now have added responsibility to start inspiring this generation who might not have that motivation to do sport. So,
and you've definitely embraced the getting that British tracksuit, getting that British vest, and you've obviously set up with some fellow athletes the mentoring network.
Yes, yeah.
And I know you're passionate about that. What does that involve, and where are you at the moment with that?
So it came originally from myself, athlete called Emily Diamond, and an athlete called Holly Bradshaw, pole vaulter. So we came together and we thought there's not any program going on where these young futures athletes have access to us senior athletes. And we've got so much experience and so much knowledge to share with these guys that can actually really benefit them. And if we can teach them to not make the same mistakes that we had. So we set up something called Athlete Connect. And now we've got, I think there's about 8 athletes, myself. So there's Laura Waitman, Tom Bosworth is there, Sophie McKenna, Katarina Johnson-Thompson, Andy Pozzi. So we're all part of this program, Die Green. And we set up monthly calls with, I think we had about 200 athletes on the last one. I think the next call is it Thursday today? Oh, the next call is today, actually. It's the last Thursday. It's the last Thursday of every month. We do a call with 3 new athletes. And we invite the guys in, and there's a different theme every time, and they send us the questions, and we only talk for an hour, but we just go through anything that we want to talk about to them, and if they want to ask some questions. And yeah, we did that off our own backs, and just because we thought there's nothing like that, and if we can help inspire 1 or 2 of those athletes go on to be Olympic champions, then our job's done. So
mate, that is brilliant. And also it's gone into our final part of our podcast, which we actually ask you 10 questions. These are random 10 questions.
All right, let's go.
That I came up with about 6 months ago, and they're not that bad, mate. They're not that bad.
No, they are good. They are
be
good.
sweet.
They are good.
Okay,
on,
first
Rich,
one else. I'll go then. Okay, first one. This is going to be your hardest question, I reckon.
Right.
First question is track or ball?
Track.
Oh!
That pains me to say as someone who follows football.
I thought you were going to struggle there.
Adam, I thought you were going to help me on this. I've literally had one person that's done it on this podcast. So I'm on struggle street here.
It's very close, but track is definitely it edges it for me.
Okay. What is your greatest accomplishment in life so far?
Oh, wow, geez, that's
We're just going in deep, real deep.
Probably when we won the World Championships in the 4x1 in London. We did that in 2017. That was, to be a world champion of anything was just phenomenal, and to do that in London was just different level. So
yeah.
Next question is, do you believe in ghosts?
Do you know what? I don't want to say I do, but sometimes things happen and you're like, that's very odd. So I don't know. More energy. Maybe there's energy. I don't believe there's like a go woo like that. Maybe but not so much now.
Okay. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Starting track and field, leaving my whole career in football. When I had a pro contract there, for nothing, for no guarantee of anything in running. That was the biggest risk.
Yeah,
it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it's epic, mate. And that's like I say, there's lots of lessons for people out there around risk to reward, and you obviously followed your heart there, and you've seen the rewards of that. And it's not just obviously in track and field, but in yourself as well. I think you've been loyal to who you are. Okay, next question is, can you sing?
In the shower, yes.
What's your go-to song?
I like Ironic by Alanis Morissette.
That is a great song.
That's a great song.
How's that go, mate? How's that go?
You have to find out online.
I thought you were going to do it then, actually. Okay, when are you your happiest?
When I'm around my family, my friends, my girlfriend, the people that I love and care about. That's just the best feeling. You're having some nice food and you're just watching a bit of telly or something. You're just surrounded by the people you love. Yeah, 100%.
What's the silliest thing you've ever got upset about?
The silliest
There's a story behind this. There must be.
there's a lot. I get something. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm hungry, I get things. When I'm hungry, I get upset by a
hungry.
lot.
You're hungry, right?
I get hungry.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I just get really. There was a story. Yeah, I was driving with a friend of mine, and we were having a discussion about traffic lights because the light was blinking yellow, and I thought the blinking yellow meant something, and she thought it meant something else, and it turns out she was right. But we got into such an argument, and I got so angry and upset by this and it turns out I was just hungry. But like, it was ridiculous. It was like, what does the blinking yellow mean? Does it mean give way? Does it mean like? It was so stupid. But that's the first thing that comes to mind because I remember how it became a massive deal when it was fucking traffic light. Like,
Okay, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully, I would love to be in the governance of sport as a job. I'd love to. I feel like I could definitely make a change. I've been in the sport for a while now, and I've got some good ideas, and I really believe I can make a change for the future. So I would love to be in the governance of sport, but yeah, hopefully with a nice family and not stressing about too much, just getting fat, enjoying food, being big. Like, I'm genetically meant to be fat. I can't wait till that day. I don't have to.
I'm putting a timer on my phone for 10 years and we're going to redo this again.
Absolutely. But yeah, job-wise, definitely, hopefully in the governance of sport. I'd love to do that.
How would your friends describe you?
Big loser. Definitely weird. They definitely say weird, happy, and then just, I don't know, like energetic, like maybe border on ADHD. Like, I'm always I'm always around, like, always got a million thoughts going through my head and just speak them all at the same time. But probably like that.
Okay, and the final one is, what's your greatest fear?
Or what? Actually, physical fear, or actually mentally, like a physical, like fear of failure? Because I fear failure for sure, like most people do. My physical fear would be rats.
Really?
You want to see me scream and cry like a girl? That's what you put. No way. I've been with my grandma, she's barely 5 foot, some old 80-year-old Iranian lady. And we've been in her garage before, and there was a rat in there, and she just picked it up with her hand like that. And I was like 16, 17 years old, and she was like, "What? Why are you scared of? It's a rat!" Like, yeah, rats. And then obviously, failure as well in terms of being a bit more serious. That was
Mate, I've got some things now that I could pass on to your teammates for Tokyo for sure.
Hey, there's a reason I could never do I'm a Celeb or any jungle show like that. Like, no way. Are you joking? Spiders fine, snakes fine, bugs fine, rats? No.
Well, thank you, Adam. You're a star. I think there's some great messages in there for the listeners and viewers, and for myself and Ellen, we've definitely enjoyed your company, and good luck, obviously, for this year going into Tokyo.
You guys,
thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So that was amazing to be joined by Adam Gemili there for our podcast, an amazing guest. And also it was so refreshing, and he was just so honest and open. And it's really great to see a guest as well, feeling really comfortable to be able to open up. And I really thought some of the stuff he was talking about, where after the Olympics was cancelled and moved on to a year, that he really had a time where he felt quite down. And I think him saying that he opened up to his friends and family, especially living in a global pandemic at the moment and people feeling that way. I know we've got a lot of positive, hopefully, coming soon. But yeah, I really appreciated him being able to open up and say that he was struggling. But he did open up and speak to people and having that positive mindset.
One of the things that we wanted to do with this podcast is to have these kind of conversations, these transparent and honest conversations with athletes, and to give them the platform to talk openly about what's really passionate and what really means a lot to them. And to have somebody like Adam and be part of his journey into Tokyo, I think it's been really important for us as well, because we're in very similar journeys. And For me, as an individual athlete, and for you, Els, I'm sure being in his team athlete, you've taken some real positive messages from that. And one of the things that I thought was really important, that he's learning all the time. He learned from when he was a junior to a senior to then the lessons he's learned from other athletes on the way.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Track and Ball Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure to comment on our Twitter page who you'd like us to have as guests, any comments, any questions that we'll be happy to answer. But we really appreciate all your support as well.
Cross comes in. White with the header.
And here comes Whitehead. It's goal for Great Britain.